had always been a bit hesitant about online dating, but after a string of failed relationships and a busy work schedule, I decided to give it a try. I created an account, uploaded my photos, and crafted a simple bio to attract potential matches. It didn't take long for messages to start pouring in. Among the sea of profiles, one caught my eye, a charming and seemingly genuine person named Mark. We exchanged messages for a few days, getting to know each other's interests and aspirations. Mark seemed like a perfect match, sharing similar hobbies and values. He suggested we meet up for a casual dinner at a cozy restaurant in town, and I eagerly agreed. The day of the date arrived, and I found myself feeling both excited and nervous. I arrived at the restaurant and scanned the room, searching for Mark's familiar face. Finally, I spotted him at a corner table, smiling warmly as he waved me over. The evening started off well. We engaged in easy conversation, sharing laughters and stories. Mark was charming and attentive, making me feel comfortable in his presence. As the night progressed, he began to open up about his life and past relationships, sharing more intimate details than I expected. However, as the conversation continued, I noticed a subtle shift in Mark's demeanor. His smile became strained, and his eyes grew distant, as if lost in thought. Unsettled, I tried to brush it off as nerves or exhaustion. After dinner, Mark suggested we take a walk to a nearby park. It seemed like a romantic idea, so I agreed. As we strolled along the dimly lit path, the leaves rustled in the wind, and our footsteps echoed. Suddenly, Mark stopped walking and turned to face me. His expression hardened. His voice, once soothing, now sounded cold and distant. He began asking invasive questions, prying into my personal life and making me feel uneasy. Red flags waved in my mind, and I realized this date has taken a dark turn. I was in fear, but I mustered up the courage to express my discomfort. I told Mark that I needed to leave and started walking away. But to my horror, he followed, his steps quickening to match my pace. Panic hit me as I realized I was being pursued. I fumbled for my phone, desperately dialing a friend's number. Mark's footsteps grew louder, and I could feel his presence closing in. I glanced back, only to see him charging towards me with a menacing look in his eyes. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I sprinted towards the nearest busy street, hoping to find safety in the crowd. With each passing second, my heart pounded louder and my legs grew weaker. I felt as though I was running for my life. Just as I reached the street, a car screeched to a halt beside me. The driver, a kind stranger, sensed my distress and offered me a ride to safety. I jumped in, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief. We quickly put distance between us and the dangerous situation. Once I was safely home, I reported the incident to the authorities, providing them with all the information I had about Mark. The experience has left me shaken, but it serves as a reminder of the potential dangers lurking in the online dating world. As for Mark, I later discovered that he had a history of predatory behavior, targeting vulnerable individuals on dating apps. His arrest and subsequent conviction served as a small sense of justice, but the scars from that encounter remain. I share my story as a warning to others, urging them to prioritize their safety and take precautions when venturing into the world of online dating. I didn't want to know what Mark wanted to do to me if he ever caught me, but I'd rather not find out. I had always been skeptical about online dating, but after a friend's success story, I decided to give it a shot. I created an account, swiped through profiles, and came across a girl named Emily. Her photos showcased a beautiful smile and seemingly kind-hearted nature. We started chatting, and our conversations flowed effortlessly. Emily seemed like a perfect match. As the days went by, our connection grew stronger. We shared stories, dreams, and secrets. Emily appeared caring and attentive, making me feel special and valued. I couldn't believe my luck in finding someone so amazing. But as time went on, Emily's behavior started to change. She became possessive and overly demanding of my time. She would text me constantly, asking me where I was, what I was doing, and whom I was with. At first, I brushed it off as her being interested, but it quickly turned into an obsession. Emily's demands escalated, and she insisted on knowing every detail of my life. She would show up unexpectedly at places I frequented, claiming she wanted to surprise me. It made me uncomfortable, but I didn't want to confront her and risk losing what seemed like a promising relationship. One evening, I went out with some friends to a local bar. As I sat at the table, enjoying the company, I noticed Emily standing across the room, her eyes fixated on me. I waved, hoping to diffuse the tension, but she didn't respond. Instead, she stared at me with intensity. Concerned, I excused myself from my friends and approached Emily. I asked her why she was acting so strangely, but she simply smiled and brushed it off, claiming she was just surprised to see me. The encounter left me feeling uneasy, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was seriously wrong. Over the following weeks, Emily's behavior grew more erratic. She would send me threatening messages, accusing me of cheating or being disloyal. Her words were filled with venom, and I realized I had become entangled with a dangerous person. I felt trapped, constantly looking over my shoulders and questioning every move I made. Emily's obsession had escalated to the point where I feared for my safety. One night, as I laid in bed, I heard a noise coming from outside my apartment. My heart raced as I crept towards the window, peeking through the blinds. To my horror, I saw Emily standing in the shadows, watching my every move. She knew where I lived, and I couldn't escape her presence. Terrified, I called the police, reporting the stalking and harassment. They took my concern seriously and advised me to gather any evidence I had against Emily. I saved all the threatening messages and provided them to the authorities, hoping it would be enough to protect myself. The next few weeks were filled with anxiety and paranoia. I changed my routines, installed security cameras, and took extra precautions to ensure my safety. Every noise outside my door made my blood run cold, and I constantly feared for my life. Fortunately, the police were able to intervene. They arrested Emily and charged her with stalking and harassment. It was a small victory, but the scars of the experience remained. Looking back, I realized how fortunate I was to escape that situation relatively unscathed, but the experience serves as a constant reminder that not everyone online has good intentions. So, for those of you who are reading this, be careful out there, because some people might be wolves in sheep's clothing. I had been swiping left and right on Tinder, hoping to find someone special in this digital dating world. One day, I matched with a girl named Emma. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and shared interest. It felt like we were building a genuine connection, and I was excited about the possibility of meeting her in person. After a week of chatting, Emma suggested that we meet up. She chose an unusual location, a secluded parking lot on the outskirts of town. Something about her request made me feel uneasy, but I went against my gut feeling, thinking I was probably going to get lucky that night. I agreed to the meeting. As the day of the meeting arrived, I couldn't shake the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. Nonetheless, I gathered my courage and drove to the isolated parking lot. I grabbed a few rubbers, expecting to get lucky tonight. Upon arrival, I noticed a mysterious car parked a few spots away. It seemed out of place, adding to my growing unease. I texted Emma to let her know that I had arrived. Moments later, 4 burly men emerged from the car and began sprinting towards my car. My heart raced as I realized I had walked right into a trap. Without hesitation, I slammed the car into drive and floored the accelerator, narrowly escaping the approaching men. Adrenaline coursed through my veins as I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw them disappear into the distance. I had managed to avoid whatever nefarious plan they had in store for me. As I caught my breath, it dawned on me that I had been set up. Emma, the girl I had been talking to, was likely involved in this dangerous scheme. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. How could someone I thought I knew turn out to be part of such a sinister plot? Fear and anger mingled within me. I felt violated and betrayed, but I knew I needed to gather my wits and make sense of what just happened. I drove to a nearby cafe, seeking refuge in a moment of clarity. As I sat there, I replayed our conversations in my mind. Were there any warning signs that I had missed? I couldn't find any red flags. No indication that Emma was involved in something so sinister. She had seemed genuine, kind, and interested in getting to know me. How had I been so wrong? But after calming down, I took some time to think and realized that Emma was probably just a fake name, and the real person who was talking to me was probably one of those men. I didn't bother reaching out to the police because I know they wouldn't do anything. I decided to delete Tinder because the thought of that experience happening again scared me. What a messed up world we live in. I don't know what those men wanted to do with me, but I'm glad I got away just in time.